Hey, I'm Brian, Slasher in Suits. What's going on, dudes? And today we're covering Escape Room 2. I know, they made a second one called Tournament of Champions. So the two surviving people from the very first movie are going back to New York to try to take it down. But the evil corporation in charge of making these escape rooms have trapped all the previous winners together on the subway somehow. See, isn't it a big coincidence? And a Saw movie just came out this year, and they both got to deal with subways. But Escape Room's like a less violent version of Saw, pretty much. Like, people might get electrocuted or they might drown in quicksand, but nothing as violent as, like, your tongue getting ripped off. Well, two people sort of get, like, corroded acid both to death with this rain, so they sort of melted away in a very painful death. I mean, that's something.
Come on, we don't have time!
The missing letters are W, B, and O!
One guy didn't make it the very first trap, the electrocuted guy. So, right, they were electrocuted, everything was like electrified, and if you touch anything metal, you died, and he touched the metal. And it's just electrocution death, but still, it would have been cool if, like, his head exploded. He supposedly, like, survived a game before, but you're at a severe disadvantage of getting electrocuted if all you went into this was wearing a tank top. They explain, like, why all these people sort of, like, got together on this subway. They sort of got tricked into getting on there. But come on, man, you survived the escape room before. You should have your guard up.
Take a picture. It will last longer.
It's the clue. This looks just like the lighthouse on the postcard.
So right there we get our second death, because the second room is almost like this fake beach that's really underground and everything. And it's like hologram. It's pretty neat, like big set piece. But it's like bubbly quicksand sort of stuff that will eat you alive. And she didn't really die in that one. He went in to go save her and he never came back out. She got out though. It's not like they were a couple either. I think he's just sort of like a Jesus guy. He's sort of a preacher, so I guess that's why he's like, hey, I'll go in and save her, even though it'll cost me my life, and then she ends up living. I mean, same difference. You just see somebody drowning in quicksand. But this movie actually brought back somebody from the first movie, so if you didn't see him die, it didn't really happen. So that guy might not even die, and he'll probably show up in the sequel.
We made it! I don't understand. We're still in the game. Oh, no.
In one of the more violent deaths in the movie, they both get burned to death by this like corrosive acid. So they both sort of melt away into like two heaps of mess. It was a nice sort of fake out too. You really bought it, like, oh wow, they actually made it out alive. And you're like, oh no, they tricked them. And none of these maps seem like they could have been beaten. Like, you only have 2 minutes to actually figure everything out. Are you fucking kidding? I can't even take a shit in that amount of time, and you're supposed to solve this whole thing? No way. Maybe that's why this had to be like the Tournament of Champions, because they seem all pretty quick and on it, like right away. Oh, we need to do this. There's a clue. There's a clue. Like, they were already pretty good at escape rooms before this. Shit, I probably would have died on this subway, first of all.
This is way bigger than last time.
You gotta try something, right?
Yeah, the tiles that you step on actually cause like cutting lasers to come out at you. And you're like, oh man, I can't wait to see somebody get like cut in half or cut down the middle. There was so much opportunity for some good gore, but everybody survived this map. That's another thing. Like, why would they go through the trouble of making all these maps when, shit, man, everybody could have died just in the subway alone? You can't tell, right? So you'd make all these maps for nothing. And a lot of these escapes from this map, like her, right? She barely made it out at the last possible second. I mean, you're like, oh, all right. At least like a couple of seconds, but nah. And you start rooting like, oh, please get cut in half with lasers. Ah, shit.
Not now! Not ever!
There was also like an attic room that she had to light on fire to actually escape, and that was like the last map, and they were free. But then they ended up in the same boat as the very first movie by going onto a plane and figuring out that, oh man, the company has control of this plane again. So it ended like the very first one did, exactly the same. So my God, total kill count of 4 people in this one. And they're probably going to make a couple of more of these. And you know what? It wasn't too bad. I would just like a little bit more gore. But it is PG-13. And probably the subway was probably one of the best mazes. So, alright, if you like that, subscribe, watch some more, catch me on the live stream, and catch you dudes later. Later, dudes.